Welcome to the Howard Eskin Show, the Howard Eskin Show and the podcast. It's live on Wednesday night, but wherever you may be, and you may listen to it on other audio services any day of the week or whenever you listen to it. So there is a lot to talk about tonight. And there's a lot going on in this town. There really is a lot. Some of it's nonsense, but that's typical, and some of it's good stuff. But what's not nonsense is our guest tonight. It's I'll say a player from the past, but just to remind you, because with the Sixers, when he came to the Sixers, he only played 5 games. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of video to let you know this is Jeff Ruland.
Come in and really make them go.
Here's Ruland. Takes the shot. The scoop shot by Ruland. How about that? His first shot.
Became effective against Tree by taking to the outside.
And some new faces coming on in a wave here for the Hawks. Cliff Levingston and John Connor. Cheeks dribbling around Ruland. Now gets the ball to it. And Ruland again. Jeff Ruland has 4. There's Ruland again, and he gets it.
You know, I'm not sure if he really wanted to bank that shot, but maybe he'll tell us tonight. Let's welcome in Jeff Ruland, who honestly, he's a great guy, but fans aren't happy with the trade when it went down. Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for that, man. I appreciate that a lot. I actually was on the radio with Mahorn on Saturday, and I mentioned the worst trade in Sixer history, which is myself and Moses, obviously.
Yeah, right. All right. So the first thing, because I just said it, when I saw the video, and you didn't see it, in the video, which I'm sure you've seen it before, that was your best game for the Sixers.
Oh, you thought I was semi-healthy, yeah, no question.
Yeah, right, obviously. You hit a bank shot. Did you really want to bank it?
Yeah, if you did your homework, you'd know that I made some threes before, and definitely that was part of my game. I just, in that era, we weren't shooting them, let's be honest.
All right, so now you come to the Sixers in 1986, and the Sixers traded Moses Malone, Terry Catledge, and a number 1 pick for you coming out of college.
No, the number 1 pick was with Doherty and Henson. It was two first rounders.
Oh, okay. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So Moses won a championship. Obviously, helped the Sixers win a championship.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. How much grief did you take personally? And you can't help injuries. Injuries are injuries. You can't help injuries. How much grief did you take over that trade, which probably, there's been some bad trades by the Sixers, but that probably had to be the worst.
Well, yeah, but not because it was a shitty player, let's be honest. And I didn't get too much shit because, let's be honest, no one's going to be coming up to me and giving me any heartbreak. But there was no one more disappointed than me. Let me tell you, I was told before the draft by Bill Pollock that I was either going to the Celtics and or the Sixers. I was doing cartwheels because they had already traded Mahorn. So I was elated. I know how disappointed Charles was, but I'll be very frank with you. And there's no question in my mind, if I was healthy, I would have won a championship there, and there'd be a statue out front.
Well, that
right now, I was under the mindset that I was not only going to lead the league in rebounding, but assists. And I can score 15 to 20 points in my friggin' sleep. So I was excited, man. Doc was my idol. I had played in the World University games with Andrew, and Roy Henson wasn't a slouch either. I mean, they can't control the injuries, man. They tested me before I got traded. They did the Cybex machine, and my bad knee was stronger than the good knee. I guess that's what. But there was there's no telling what happened after I came back and played from that last injury. That knee just wasn't stable, man. Wasn't stable.
But you did
cadaver in there.
You didn't play a lot of games with Washington the 2 years before. I think it was 30-some games, so you probably had to have some injuries. But
I hurt I had an impingement in my shoulder,
Okay.
But what happened was I had an avulsion fracture on both. I stepped on someone's foot. I shouldn't have been in the game. Where the game was over, we had won. Went up to block a shot, landed on someone's foot. I think it was Lambier, and I had an avulsion fracture on both sides of my ankle. The bone pulls, the ligament pulls the bone off. I came back too early. I remember getting blocked by Buck Williams and hearing a pop in my knee, and that was the beginning of the beginning of the end. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I played 82 games my first year. I played 79, I think, my second year, and I led the league in minutes my third year. I mean, I played 41 minutes a game in the playoffs. I think I played 49. Plus, I used to practice. I mean, we used to have 2-a-days, back in training camp. It was freaking ridiculous. But the medical staff wasn't the best. That's being, but they also knew that. I wanted to be out there for my teammates, and I was my own worst enemy.
When you look back at your career, you came out of Iona as the 25th player taken in the draft.
Yeah.
Now, that was the second round because there obviously wasn't as many teams, but you're still the 25th player taken in the draft.
Yeah.
So it came out as a really good player. You had 2 really good years in Washington, then 2 years you're kind of hurt. And you come to the Sixers, and I think the Sixers, well, actually, I know the Sixers. The Sixers were pissed at Moses. They were pissed at Moses because he had 2 years left on his contract, and he wanted a new contract. So Harold Katz said, that's it, I'm trading him. And I don't know if there was anything else on the table, but at one time, obviously, you were a really good player before you got hurt. And, I don't know that people were excited with the trade because it was Moses, but then when you only played 5 games the first year.
No fooling. I had to live with that my whole life. I finished in the top 10 in the MVP in '84. I mean, I gave Moses 37 the night before my daughter was born. I wasn't a slouch, my brother. And, as great a player he was, I don't know, his relationship with the coaches after Billy retired, I guess, was not great, but I was a better passer. I was a better overall player. So,
when
say what you want, I would have made that team better. I'm telling you right now, as God is my witness, we would have definitely won a championship.
All right, so you played with the 5 games. You played with Barkley, Moses, Cheeks. If
No,
I'm correct,
I got traded for Moses. I played with Doc. It was Doc's last year. Yeah.
Okay, it was Doc's last year. Okay, Doc and Barkley was still there, right?
Yeah, Charles was there. That's what I'm saying.
And Cheeks was there. You
throwing
had 3
him
Hall of
balls and
Famers there.
different stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you had 3 Hall of Famers there. What was it? You probably were so excited when you came there.
Yeah, I drove up the turnpike the same day. Yeah, I told you. I was, I wanted to be a Bullets, but, we always played the Celtics tough in the playoffs and the Sixers, but we didn't have a bench. Back then it was the Lakers, Celtics, and the Sixers, That was just the way it is. So I was elated, man. I was stoked.
Okay, so now here's the difference. Back, and we can't always turn back the clock, and I know sports have changed.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, right. Well, no, not in our lifetimes, but I know sports has changed. But you can look back. PK Subban buried the NBA, and I'm going to play it later after I speak with you. Buried the NBA for lack of effort, getting all that money, not showing up, not playing games. When you look at the NBA when you played, and the garbage, and I'll call it garbage, that's the NBA is today, are you disappointed? Are you surprised? Or are you just disgusted watching this game today?
I'm not disgusted. It's still a beautiful game. The rules have changed a little bit. They're coming back a little bit more physicality, a little bit more defense. Guys are talented. I would have loved to run up and down and shoot threes and play that way. But the All-Star game is an embarrassment. What they did this past year was a piece of crap, and I don't know what the answer is. I remember my daughter had just been born, and I was glad we won because we got an extra $1,000, and I was racing to the airplane to catch a flight.
Now you give the winners get $100,000. Like, who cares? Those guys are making $50 million. You think they care about $100,000?
No.
You say, well, the game. What do they have to do? They have to play hard. When you played in an All-Star game, you really played to win. You didn't play to, like you were playing in the schoolyard and just having a bunch of fun.
I played hard on every possession. I ran back on defense every time. That's just the way we were. That's the way we were wired, man.
Yeah, but the All-Star game, but the guys don't play hard. And
no, I know. I agree with you. Yeah, it's ugly. It's. I don't know what the answer is.
Okay, so now, all right, now this load management and all this other bull crap that a player can't play. If a player, and there's Michael Jordan, and you played 70-some games your first 2 years when you were healthy. Michael Jordan played 82 games and every playoff game for 9 straight years.
Yeah.
And these guys, you're lucky if they play 60 games now. I mean, Paul George. Today he said, or I guess in the last couple, he's not going to do his podcast the rest of the year because he's going to get ready for next season. Well, why didn't you get ready for this season when they gave you a 4-year max contract? That was horrible. Other than last year, he played 71 games. The 4 previous years, he averaged 50-some games a year. He's another guy that doesn't show up. Embiid is a joke. I mean, you're watching a guy that big, that strong, obviously has a lot of ability. Your thoughts on Joel Embiid? And I want you to be honest.
I'm always honest, man.
Okay.
That's who I am. He's got no lift right now, and what happened between the Olympics and the beginning of the season? That's the big question mark because it's not the same guy. It's not the same guy, and especially that size. If you're not healthy, I mean, when he's healthy, he's such an overpowering presence. And he's got great lift on the defensive, offensive end, dunking on guys. I don't even know if he can dunk right now. And I hope he gets better, of course.
But Jeff, here's the problem. Here's the problem. He got his contract, and it starts after this year. They owe him $274 million.
I'm aware of that, Howard.
Okay.
They didn't put a gun to his head and tell him you got to sign.
Yeah, but you got to have pride.
Gave it to him.
Yeah, but you got to have pride. You got to play hard. He just takes off, and then he blamed God a few weeks ago. He said, I want to play every game, but that's up to God. It's not. It's up to you. He didn't rehab properly. He didn't rehab the way I was told the doctors asked him to rehab to start the season because he didn't like it. So. And he just, my opinion, based on a couple of people that I've talked to with, coaches, he plays for himself. He doesn't listen to the coach. He plays for himself, his own numbers. And once he got the MVP, okay. And then he won the gold medal. Hey, I got my championship. This guy is so out. He is tuned out. And that should piss you off as a former player of the NBA.
Yeah, those are strong accusations that,
Yeah, but that's what I do.
If any of those things are true, it's a shame because he's been at the pinnacle. He's been an MVP. He's led the league in scoring. He's played hurt. It's not good. I don't know what the answers are. I really don't. I just, like I said, how can you go from the Olympics to all of a sudden the start of the season? Now you're not playing at all. What transpired? Did he hurt it in the Olympics? Should he have played?
He should not have played in the Olympics. He should not have played in the Olympics.
Well, yeah. Second, they shouldn't have traded for me.
Yeah, but he was hurt last year, and he's always had knee problems. He had a procedure, if I remember correctly, last year, and they didn't do everything so he could come back and play. But it's nonsense. He should have never played in the Olympics. He wanted it was his own because it was in France, which technically is his home country. Didn't
Right.
play for France, but he played for the United States because he wanted to win the gold, not playing for France. And he wouldn't have played as much with France with Wemby and Gobert on the team. That's another thing. So
he seems to be his own man here. What is the solution? At this point, can you get anything of value?
No.
We got to find out what's wrong with that knee and go from there. George is not the same player, but I heard he's taking injections, so
yeah,
I've got respect for that. It's not the best thing to be doing, and take it from someone who knows the hard way.
Well, the All-Star break, I love this. The All-Star break, he went on vacation somewhere. I don't know where it was. And he came back and he said, it was good for me because there was salt water there. Are you kidding me? To get on a plane, you have a few days off, just rest, get yourself. So he gets on a plane, goes on vacation, and he tells people when he comes back, well, the salt water was good for me. I'm telling you, these guys don't care. He's getting $55.5 million a year. I'm so fed up with the NBA and the money, and these guys they're not even mailing it in because it's not being delivered. So it's a joke. All right, a couple of games ago, they played the Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
The Chicago Bulls, and they stink. All right, the Chicago Bulls, and they're down by 50. 5-0 in the game. Almost impossible. Shouldn't that be embarrassing to the play? They still don't play hard. And then the coach, he's as far as I'm concerned, he's got to go because he's got to go because he's got no control of the players. He comes out after all these losses and say, well, they didn't have energy. They weren't excited to come out, and they didn't do this. They didn't. Well,
hey, all I can tell you is you're a professional, and you got to depend on the coach to get you up to play. Then there's something wrong there. There's something wrong there. So my mom used to say it's hard to make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yeah. All right, I have a question. There's somebody here with a question, and says, do you think if the Bullets would have put you on some kind of load management, as they like to call it now, could you have lengthened your career?
Oh, I've already gone on record to tell you that I played a lot when I shouldn't have. And part of that obviously, resides with me. But like I said, they also knew I wasn't ready, and they put me out. They didn't value you back then. I mean, we used to get a bag of ice after the games. We washed our own uniforms in the sink, flew coach, whatever, and. When I got to the Sixers for the first time, it was the first time I had someone stretch me out, Pat Croce. And I was like, oh, this is new. I like this. This makes a lot of sense. But, back in the day, John Lally used to cut the calluses off my feet. And he didn't have something that night. He friggin' sliced my foot open because he hadn't had a drink in a while.
Oh, it's not right. Well, here's the thing. All right, so I believe Matt Gukas was your coach, correct? Was Matty your coach?
Matty, for those 5 games, yes.
Okay, for your 5 games. All right. So Matty was your coach.
Yes.
Would he allow the players not to play hard? And wasn't there somebody on the team that said, wait a minute. Hey, if you're not going to play hard, just go to the bench.
We didn't have that problem. The one thing I remember was they had the mile run. And, I've always been a lot better running than people give me credit for. So I took it to heart, and I ran it in just about 5:03. I just barely almost beat Doc. But Charles walked the whole thing, and everybody else said that Moses used to walk it. So I don't know. If you're gonna have a set of rules, then you're gonna have a set of rules. But so I definitely Matty and Moses must have been batting heads. There's no question. Had to be.
When you played with Mahorn, and that was with the Bullets, which are now the Wizards, I guess.
Right.
I mean, team changed names. Mahorn, physical. When he went to Detroit, physical. All right, you couldn't get away with that in today's game, could you? These guys are so soft. lift.
No, there's a video on YouTube. You could pull it up. Him fouling Cornbread Maxwell, and he'd be suspended for about 20 games.
Oh, well, he must have punched him.
No, it was just a hard foul. You'd have to pull it up. I mean, it's a joy to watch. I remember coming out of a game in the Spectrum when it was, it's always 50 degrees during the games. I came out, I sat on the end of the bench, and Rick knocked Lionel Hollins 3 teeth out. I caught him in my hand.
Well, now they wear mouthpieces, I think, most of the
Well,
players.
I elbowed Robert Parrish with a mouthpiece, and I had a tooth mark in my elbow. So those things only help. So
Okay.
matter of fact, I'm getting that cleaned out hopefully this month for my golf game.
Yeah.
Which I hope to play see Charles one of these days.
Yeah, well, I will mention that I have spoken to you, and we'll see if we can't.
If Shaq ever comes across this quality video, I need to speak with him.
What? Speak with him about what?
Something personal. Yeah, I want to get him his 2 MVPs that Steve Nash stole from him.
Oh, you're going to give him? Hey, Steve Nash was a great point guard.
Wasn't an MVP, brother. Come on.
You know what? I don't think Embiid was the MVP. I think Jokic was the MVP.
All right. I think the kid from OK City gets it this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is a great player. See, there's a guy that
love him, man. Love him.
That gives everything that he's
great
got.
Players make the players around them better.
What? And that's okay. So who on this Sixers team makes the other players better?
Well, when Embiid's healthy, he does because
no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't because he only cares about his points. The last game, I think the last game he played, now he's going to take a few games. Like, who knows how many games he'll take off. He was 0 for 6 or 0 for 7 from 3. What the hell are you taking the 3-point shots if you're not hitting them? A guy that's 7'2" or 7 foot or whatever he is, that big, shouldn't he be under the basket somewhere?
Yes, and that's what I'm telling you. He doesn't have the lift. You can see it. I mean,
but he never was there.
The last time he played, he was underneath the rim and he jumped sideways. Yeah,
he's a phony. A talented player, but a phony because he's only interested in his points. And here's the other thing.
I think you guys need to sit down together and break bread and get to the bottom of it.
Okay, well, here's the other thing.
I'll broker that if you want.
Okay, well, maybe you can. But it doesn't matter now because he's like a rumor now for the rest of his Sixers career, getting $60-some million a year. But whatever the case may be,
he's almost never underneath your car when you get up in the morning.
He's almost never in shape. So I believe.
Guy won the MVP for Christ's sake.
No, he was voted the MVP. Oh, all right. So now I don't believe he wants to run from basket to basket the way he should. One of these last few games, he stood there where a guy drove the basket. He happened to be under the basket, which was a mirage.
That's what I'm telling you. They need to shut him down.
Yeah. Well, that's fine, but they're trying to sell tickets. The last game, you'll love this. First of all, some of those tickets at courtside are like $3,000. Some tickets, the last game, were going for $1 on StubHub, and I wouldn't even pay $1 because then you got to pay parking and buy concessions. They'd have to pay me $50 to go to that game. And then they still announced 19,000, which is a farce too. Like who's coming to those games? But
you got to have a couple hundred just to park and feed yourself too.
Right? Yeah, right. Okay, so let me get back to Embiid because you big guy, played, obviously know the position. I don't believe even when he was healthy, and he was never really been 100%. Well, nobody's 100%. He still didn't go from basket to basket because it saved energy. If he only goes to the 3-point line, he doesn't have to run. He saves all those steps. I'm telling you, you got to trust me on this. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm a trustworthy guy, right? You got to trust me.
No question.
All right, you got to trust me. You always
fingers crossed, but go
ahead. Okay. All right. I want to touch on a couple of things in your college career.
I want to straighten out that draft, by the way. I was actually supposed to be between the 11th and the 15th pick, and I had Larry Fleischer, who was the head of the
Players Association.
Coaches, yeah, exactly. He calls me 3 days before the draft and tells me he can't represent me. and then I wound up getting the 25th pick. I was interviewed by the FBI and the NCAA after I lost my last year of eligibility, signing with an agent. There was rumors of gambling and stuff like that, so I'm sure that had a lot to do with why I fell, and that's also the reason why I went over and played over in Football Club Barcelona for a year.
Oh, okay. All right. So, by the way, somebody here, Kevin, says he had the pleasure of meeting you, and I don't know why that would be a pleasure. He was meeting you at Sesame Place. You must have taken some kids there. Did you go there, or did you have an appearance? You brought your kids, he said.
It was my daughters who are now 41, 38, and 34.
Okay.
And the next time you see me there, I'll be with my grandkids.
Okay. Well, he said you gave him an autograph, and he still has it. So,
that and $15 will get you over to GW.
Well, wait till that price goes up now too. All right, so the draft, because of the rumors, you were a top 15 player.
Yeah, and then Valvano had left to go to NC State. Jimmy V was my coach. I could have went anywhere in the country, and I chose Iona College because of him, and it was close to home.
Right. All right. So, you mentioned to me there was a game where you said the refs fixed the game.
So my junior year, we're playing down in Washington.
Iona's playing.
Playing down in Georgetown. I find out a lot of pro guys went to the game, and they're like questioning whether I'm any good. Meanwhile, 2 months later, I have 38-15 against Kansas and 30-21 against Louisville in the Madison Square Garden, and they're questioning if I'm any good. Anyway, my manager of the Iona team, his dad was a big-time lawyer in Rockville Center, Long Island. He also gambled. So after the game, a day or two later, Bill comes to me and goes, "Hey, listen, I didn't want to tell you beforehand, but my dad was going to bet the game, and they told him not to bet the game. You were going to get 3 fouls in the first 3 minutes." I got my third foul about 1:45 in. I was at half court, and the ball was underneath the basket. So yes, the game was fixed.
So
thank you very much.
No, that's just your opinion, or you believe from people you've spoken to?
I know
by what they're
his
doing.
Dad was a reputable guy and a gambler, and I know what happened during the game. Yeah, I had 3 fouls that it was ghost fouls. Yeah.
Were you ever involved in a game that what was the referee's Donahue, I guess, or Donahue from this area?
No, that's before my time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And he was run out when he was found out. But he wouldn't change the outcome. But he found a game, or whoever it was.
Yeah,
they
can manipulate the game very easily. But I mean, there was a lot of games in college that I questioned. Back then, if you were a big guy, I mean, I never went into a game worrying about anybody I played against. I knew my ability and I knew my talent, but I was worried about the guys with the whistle.
Oh, well,
That's the only thing I ever worried about.
Yeah, now it's just you got to be now everybody.
Oh, you look at last night. Look at Donick, who bitches too much, but he drove and the guy rapes him across the arm and gives him a technical. I mean,
who was this?
Last night in the Laker game, Luka drove to the lane.
Right.
In the beginning, when he got the technical, the guy grabbed him by his friggin' arm. There was 2 referees, one underneath and one on the side, and they gave him a technical.
Well, first of all, they're too sensitive anyway.
I got to send love to Joey Crawford, though, if he's probably going to watch this, and I don't want to be on bad terms with him.
You know what? He doesn't live far from me. I passed by his house.
Joey's the best.
Yeah, good
Emerald
guy.
Strom.
His brother was a little bit of a red ass. The baseball umpire, he was a little bit of a red ass, but a good guy
Doesn't
too.
fall far from the tree either with Joey. Remember, next time we play golf, let me tell you a story about Joey in New Orleans. I can't do it on the air here.
Oh, you can't? Well, I got great stories too, and I can tell. On a podcast, you can do anything. All right.
Good point.
So
they kind of censor me on the Sirius radio with my horn all the time. You guys are like, oh.
That's all right.
Grow up.
All right. So you were a coach. First of all, before I get to that, I saw you retired for 4 years, and then you came back.
Yeah.
Why did you? And you came.
I had the
13
microfracture. I had the first microfracture.
Okay.
That's a better comeback than George Foreman, and then I got run over at the Garden with the luggage cart and tore my Achilles. Yeah. I got
And then you,
a special life. That's why I'm writing that book.
yeah, I
Chris
try,
Carroll's the author, Sachem grad.
and that comes out in about 6 months. The book.
6, 8 months, yeah, man. Yep.
Okay, so can you give me one tidbit of something that will be enlightening to people that is in the book? Because I know you're an honest guy and you're telling it all, right? So
Oh,
is there
tell it all. I'll
something?
tell you just some of my recruiting stories, if you'd like.
Did they pay you?
Uh, I took a lot less money to go to Iona. So my mom owned a bar. My mom came over from Germany at the age of 7 on a boat. All right. She owned a bar in the early 70s, late 60s, and that's unusual for a woman. And
Right.
saw a lot of things. I used to meet with the coaches. I visited Kentucky, Indiana, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, North Carolina, and Maryland, and I went to Iona. I would meet with the schools in the school library. Bill Foster from Duke. I fell asleep on him once. But anyway, they weren't supposed to go to my house or see my mom. Leonard Hamilton snuck into during the day. My mom would tend bar and cook. And he sat down with her and he goes, Mrs. Ruland, we want to move you to Kentucky, give you a new house, a new bar restaurant, $10,000 and a car. And my mother looked at him and straight in the face and said, it's Jeffrey's decision. Now, when I made my decision to go to Iona over Kentucky and Indiana, a guy from Kentucky called me and said, I'm getting on my plane and I got a suitcase for you.
Well, who was the coach at Kentucky at the time?
Joby Hole.
Oh yeah.
I'd still be
Okay.
getting paid if I had gone there.
Yeah. Well, Charles said he took less too to go to Auburn, but he took money. I mean, back then and now, the NIL is killing college sports. I mean, guys change after a year and pay. It's free agents every year.
I'm one of the things I'm most proud of than my 3 daughters is the fact that I went back and got my degree after 10 years. And now
Good.
when the NCAA is mentioning things, you never even hear the word education. So now I'm happy with the guys. They can get their money in the NLI and they can go back to school down the road. I would have loved, I went to Iona. I mean, we're 20 minutes from Manhattan. I would have been on the Jumbotron doing Calvin Klein underwear commercials. So.
It's just, well, guys got paid and everybody. So then now they made it legal, but now
Big
they
thing
ruined.
for me, Howard, now is that the NCAA is giving billions of dollars to guys from 2016 until now. What about the guys before that? What about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at UCLA? Why don't you give him a check for $500 million? I mean, how can they pick and choose like that? I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits at some point about this. They have an endless supply of money, obviously.
Yes,
And
they do.
how much longer is even going to be an NCAA? I think at some point you're going to move to the European model where guys are, going. Their job is to hoop and get a little education when they can.
Okay, so you were a coach at Iona,
Yes.
and then you coached at UDC, University of District of
I
Columbia.
coached a year in the D League. I coached another year again with the Sixers when Mo got fired and Tony DeLeo took over.
All right, so
we made the playoffs and then we got fired and they hired Eddie Jordan. Good job there, Ed.
You're
Ed
saying that's
Stefanski.
okay.
Good job.
Hey, listen, I know Eddie, and I know his kid. Who's
I love Ed too, but I mean, we just made the playoffs. But we almost beat the Orlando Magic, who went to the finals, and then he fired Tony, and he brought in Eddie, and they won 22 games. So you tell me how that worked.
Yeah, well, it didn't. Obviously, it didn't work well. So, why? Guys coach forever. Do you not want to coach, or
I
would you
do
like
want
to
to.
coach?
I haven't coached since 2012.
So why
I
didn't
don't
you
really
go
get into this because I've tried to put it behind me. There's a couple guys that I own are alums that I've caught calling around when I've gone for jobs and bad mouthing. So that's why I haven't coached, not because I don't want to. I turned UCDC around. I went from 1 win to nationally ranked in 3 years. I got the job. There was only 5 players a week before school. We had one guy hurt his ankle. We played 5 against 4. I ran a box and none.
A box and none.
A box and none. I used to take pictures of the bus and send them to my lawyer and to my kids and tell them, give this to Mr. 80s in case I die because the buses were so bad on Division 2. So, but it was a lot of fun.
So guys why did guys badmouth you?
I had a problem at the college. The president who fired me made my life a living hell, and he's an alleged pedophile. And I sent you the article. It says it. It's an alleged pedophile, and he used to travel around with a male secretary that was a model. So you tell me. I've got more stuff in the book that'll.
So that's going to be in the book. That's going to be in the book.
Yes, it's going to be in the book.
So obviously somebody fact-checked all that stuff.
I've tried to put that past me now. I'm involved with a couple guys that I own that are trying to, change the culture and make things good. Dan Doyle and Matt Rienza, good friends of mine. And, we're trying to turn the other cheek. It hasn't been easy.
No, it's just it's too bad you got hurt because obviously I saw how good you were.
Tell me about it. Like I said, I know in my heart I would have got Chuck a ring and would have been nice because Philadelphia appreciates players that play hard and
so your knee is okay now?
That was me. I had it replaced finally, 43 staples, but I've lost.
Okay.
The last 5 years, I fixed my back and my knee. I work out again. I've lost like 55 pounds. And shout out to Mahorn, had surgery on his back, and he's recovering. Spoke to him every other week. So say a prayer to him.
All right, I'm gonna touch this off because I can't stand the way the NBA is, and the Sixers. They don't show up, and the coaches. I'm telling you, the coach. There's stories out there that he didn't communicate with his players in Toronto. He was lucky; he had 3 stars. Nick Nurse.
Yeah, I knew him a little bit from the G League, and I never heard that.
Daryl Morey hires everybody that he knows. That was Daryl Morey's team in the G League. The players he's gotten on the team have been with Houston. Some of the executives. It's just Daryl Morey's a total fraud too, absolute total. The biggest and best con man in the history of the NBA. It's just, I'm telling you, look at the trades. Everybody says, oh, look what he's done for the team. He traded a first-round pick for George Hill, who was here 3 months, he was gone. Gave up a first-round pick to get rid of Al Horford, who made contributions with the Celtics. He didn't draft Maxey, although he was here. He was only here a week. Elton Brand did that. I mean, what has he done? What has he done except ruin this team?
I thought when they brought in the kid Martin, that was a great move from the kid from Miami, and then they got rid of him.
Well, obviously it wasn't good enough. But I don't know that Nick Nurse.
It was salary crap reasons, but it wasn't good enough. He had a great playoff series with Miami. Big reason they went to the finals.
Well, why are you giving Paul George a 4-year max contract when nobody else would have given him 2? I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah, you're making valuable points, and I can't argue with you.
Embiid, he's hurt, and you give him 4 years after this year.
Well, they gave him that when he was coming off the MVP. So
stop. All right, I'm going to tell you about Paul George. At the game before the All-Star game, Paul George scored 2 more points than you did in that game. 2 more points than you did. How does a guy making $55.5 million a year
What kind of vehicle are you driving these days? Is it armored? You got bulletproof glass?
It's a great Audi from Howdy Devin.
It's to a whole nother level.
It's a great Audi from Howdy Devin. No, it's just, Howdy Devin, I've had a relationship with you for years, but I'll change the color of the car if you feel more comfortable. Hey, listen, I've said these things. They should have traded Embiid 3 years ago. Daryl Morey, that nonsense with Scam Hinkie and the process. I mean, it was a Ponzi scheme. It was ping pong balls. And what did it do?
I got to put some depends on here soon.
It is what it is. I mean,
what is Washington doing? What's their game plan?
Who knows? But I'll tell you about the Sixers. The Sixers are 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away. That's what the Sixers are. So before we go, is there anything else? Is there anything else you'd like to share with my vast audience here on the Howard Eskin Show
No,
podcast?
thank you for having me, and you'll get a copy of the book, obviously, and
Yes, I want a
hope
copy.
to come back on then. And it's always a pleasure, man. I'm a fan, and I watched the last one with you and Charles. That was terrific. So I wish you the best, obviously, and yeah, I'm available whenever you need me, brother.
Okay, thanks. Hey, by the way, there's a guy, Mark. He says, "Do you remember Yogi Strom?" Yogi was a character. He was from this area. One of the officials. It was Yogi before
Oh
your
yeah,
time.
yeah. That's what I said. Earl Strong. Earl was the best.
Oh, Earl Strom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Earl rescinded the
It was so dramatic. It's like boom.
Earl didn't take any shit. Let me tell you that.
No, he didn't. Hey, Jeff, it's great catching up with you. I'm looking forward to the book, and I would imagine we'll talk. I want you to understand the cheating. I shouldn't say cheating. The laziness, the disrespect. I'm going to play PK Suppan later. It said they're disrespecting the game by not playing hard and taking games off. I want you to understand that. So the next time I talk
I
to
don't
you,
understand it. I lived it, man. I never took a minute off. That's why I've had 16 surgeries. I left it all out there, brother. Trust me.
all right. Hey, Jeff, it was fun. It's a pleasure.
All
And
the best.
maybe I kind of gave you some insight to this Sixers team. By the way, I don't think they'd win a championship in the G League. All right.
All right, my friend. Peace
All
out.
right, it's good seeing you. It's good talking to you.
God
Take care.
bless. All right.
Jeff Ruland, which, he's a great guy, although he was involved in maybe the worst trade in Sixers history when the Sixers and Harold Katz, and may he rest in peace. I don't want to say it. Harold passed away, I guess, within the last month. But he just didn't want to deal with Moses, wanting a new contract. So Jeff Ruland just happened to be the guy. It's amazing how, and then Jeff, who was a good player at one time, was just hurt. All right. There's a few things I want to mention. First of all, if you want to join the program, I don't know whether to call you callers, podcasters, streamers. We put out a link. If you want to join the program, and some people I feel may be uncomfortable being on camera, on that link, if you want to just do the audio and I'll talk to you. If you want to be on camera, hey, listen, that's great. There's a link on the link that I sent you that you can turn off the camera. You don't want to turn off the audio. And we're going to try to take some callers. But I do want to mention, I wanted to get to Jeff, I do want to mention ABC Tickets, who's been loyal to me, not just as a sponsor, but as a company for 30 years. And you see the number there, 800-355-5555, if you need tickets anywhere in the world. And I mentioned it with Jeff. Jeff wanted to know what car I was driving. Well, Audi Devon is where I get my cars. And I'm telling you, great people, nice people, and Audi is a really good, and I've driven a few really nice vehicles in my life. Obviously, people know about some of the ones that I may have driven in the past. Audi is a very good vehicle, and Audi Devon are really wonderful, fun. You talk sports, you talk whatever you want to talk with these guys. They always have some nice food there too, which I got to be careful because I don't want all the carbs. But when you go in there, service department have never had a problem. So that's Audi Devon, but that's the car I drive. All right, we're going to take a short break, and I still want to deal with the Sixers, but I want to deal with the Eagles and all this tush-push BS. And it's BS, and I'm going to take it in the other direction. And the Phillies are playing, but hardly anybody ever plays in these a bunch of guys played today because the game was on TV. They wouldn't have played. 5 real starters played today for the first time this spring. But anyway, we will be right back. Howard Eskin Show and this podcast. Wednesdays at 7:30, Saturdays at 8. I know people are tuned in on Saturdays. But I do want to talk about the Sixers. But it's the NBA, and the Sixers are just a product of it. Do you believe that Monday night, the Monday night when they played the Bulls, the game against the Bulls, tickets on StubHub were going for $1? They couldn't pay me $1. And why would anybody even pay $1? You know, the parking is a part of life, but the concessions, but it's bad. It's a terrible product. It's a terrible product. When you're down by, can you imagine that? It's almost impossible to be down by 50 points. I mean, literally, it's almost impossible. I don't know that I've ever seen that before in an NBA game. You're down 50 points, and you're an NBA team against a bad team. And Nick Nurse says, well, we didn't come out with energy. We didn't do this. We didn't. You know what? I don't want to hear any more excuses. That's your job to get the players to play hard. And if they don't, I don't care if you put somebody in from the stands on the court. You've got to get that player off the floor. It is disgraceful. Absolutely disgusting and disgraceful. I don't know how anybody pays for it. And the Sixers, this is wonderful. That game, they announced over 20,000. Where were they? You know, they say tickets, you know, it's people in the building. I don't think there's people in the building, and it's not tickets sold. Because when the Sixers put tickets on the ticket sites, they're not sold, although they may count them sold because they never sell. So, and then they announced 19,700 every game. I don't know how 19,000 people can stomach that. And you know, it's a shame because it's been a long time. It's been since 83, 84, since the Sixers. That's a long time since they won a championship. But Nick Nurse, I don't want to hear any more excuses. I don't want to hear that your team didn't have energy, your team didn't play hard coming out. I don't want to hear any of that. When another team scored 30, Chicago Bulls, I think it was 39 points, scored 39 points in the first quarter off you, that is disgraceful, it's insulting, and it should be embarrassing to the players. And I want to get to that, and then I want to get to the Eagles. But before we do that, PK Subban, a former hockey player, was on, I guess it was on ESPN. I'm pretty sure it was on ESPN. I think that's what he worked for. He does hockey games. Pretty sharp guy, and he does a really good job on the air for hockey games. But he took off on the NBA players, and he's 100% correct. Listen to him just, I want you to watch, for people that are watching, Brian Windhorst, I think, is a very good reporter, just got lockjaw because his bread and butter is covering the NBA. And I don't know if he's ever said what he should be saying with what PK Subban has said. Let's hear from PK Subban.
You're playing for. Like, if you're really about it, if you're really about sports, then you're about two things, your teammates and the fans. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. When you do not show up to play, you're letting your teammates down. When you do not show up to play, you're letting the fans down that are paying you 40, 50, 60 million. I don't care if you're getting 300 million. Congratulations. But these people in here are paying $2,500 a ticket, $5,000, that are blue-collared, hard-working people. If you don't get your head wrapped around that, you shouldn't be in pro sports. Because how are we going to grow? How do we expect you to be an example? Well, guess what? You don't want to be? You are one. You're on the biggest stage. You just said it. They make the most money. You're an example. You got to show up. You got to take that on. I'm sick and tired of making athletes greats, all-time greats, that aren't the best examples. Those are the people that we want our kids to follow, that we want athletes to follow. That helps us in our game. Stephen A., you want athletes to be educated on this and understand this. They got to understand the importance of showing up to the All-Star game and being on the court and playing banged up sometimes and playing injured maybe at times. Thank you. And participating, because here's the thing. Because you're making 100, 200, 300 million, you should be out there banged up. You should be. That's why we pay you. is to max out. We talk about greatness and it being the longevity of somebody's career. I don't care if you play 50 years. I want your best 10. I want you on the court dominating. I want you to go all out. I want Michael Jordan. I want Kobe. That's what I want in every sport. That's the guy that I follow. You're a different version than that, you don't get my respect. That's me, and that's my angle. That's who I am. But I think we got to be very...
You know, it's just, he couldn't be more right. There's somebody that sent in a message here, and I'll read it from Jim LaFrida. The Sixers stink, totally dysfunctional, a player that couldn't shoot, one that wouldn't shoot, and a paper mache center who at 7+ feet refused to play under the basket. What a joke. You know, there was another person here, and I think it was Angelo, said people, and he's right. People laughed at me 3 years ago when I said they should have traded Embiid. I mean, they did laugh at me. Well, they said more than that, and they more than laughed at me. You know, it's because they trusted the process. They drank so much Kool-Aid, they choked on it, and they couldn't see what was going on with the organization, with the team, and the way the Sixers, at one time, and they haven't won for a long time, it was a storied franchise. It was a storied franchise. It's just, it sucks. It sucks. It stinks. I'd blow up the whole thing. I'd blow up the whole thing. And the owner's got to go too, because he doesn't care about the Sixers. He only cares about his football team in Washington. That's all he cares about is his football team in Washington. And I think he'll sell within the next 5 years, but that's what people want. That's what they hope for. It's just, it's crazy. Here's Ed Weiss says, let's scroll back down to Ed Weiss. Love what PK is saying. Just had the same conversation with my son this afternoon. Always admire your viewpoints, King. And he wrote that. Always love it or hate it. The NHL dudes are busting it every night, and PK demonstrated by example. Embiid and George are stealing big dollars. Here's the promotion I think the Sixers should have. Daryl Morey should come out at halftime promotion. You ought to put handcuffs on, take him out in handcuffs for stealing money as a president, kind of general manager of this team. He makes all the decisions. I mean, I think he's getting close to $15 million. He got an extension, $15 million a year. Are you kidding me? But so everybody's stealing money. And Nick Nurse, you got to have more passion, Nick. You know, I tried to wait, and I waited, and I waited, and then you have all these excuses. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. But it's just, it's disgraceful, and the people in Philadelphia can't stand it anymore. Again, I don't know why you go out to a game. You know, I don't know why you go out to a game. All right, let's move on. I want to move on to the Eagles. All right, the big study, the NFL teams are at the Combine this week. And the big subject is Green Bay introduced, something to the competition, or, you know, a rule change, and that happens every year. They introduce rule change, and they vote on them in the owners' meetings. It's the end of March. And he introduced a rule change to eliminate the tush push by the Eagles. And some people say, you know, you're worried about injuries, and there hasn't been any injuries this year with the tush push. And I get that. But here's what I don't understand. First of all, I could care less whether they eliminate it or they don't eliminate it. How many times do you have that a game or a season? That's where Jalen Hurts gets it gets probably half of his touchdowns. Half of his touchdowns on the ground, obviously. Obviously, he can run and he can score touchdowns with his legs. But the way I understood it, and I'm trying to check it, and I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet because most of the NFL people are at the Combine, so I couldn't get an answer to this. There used to be a rule where you were not allowed to push from behind a ball carrier. Well, the reason it's called the tush push is because the Eagles have players that push Jalen Hurts from behind and push. And so now you got 500 or 600 pounds pushing against, let's say, 300 pounds. But the reality is, I thought that was against the rules. And now I'm going to check it, and I will check it and try to find out if, in fact, it was a rule at one time where you couldn't push a player on offense, or that for that matter on defense, who has the ball, couldn't push a player with the ball. If that's the case, when a runner gets stopped, you can just get the offensive lineman to run over and just keep on pushing him so he gets a few more yards. So it's just there's Jose here has the NFL has much bigger issues than being worried about Eagles tush push. I don't really care one way or the other, but I thought it used to be against the rules to push a player from behind who has the football. It's too big a deal. The reason it works is because the Eagles' offensive line is so big. They are so big. Landon Dickerson is really, from what I had been told, really the guy that makes that work. He's so big, he's strong, 350 pounds. Landon Dickerson makes that happen. And the Phillies in spring training, it's great. I look at the lineup every day, and I try to see who's playing. And the games before today, they played a game today. It was in Toronto, which is only 20 minutes down the road from Clearwater. But the game was on TV. 5 starters for the Phillies played. Now, it was Bryce Harper had a triceps bruise because he got hit in the arm. So he wasn't going to play tomorrow anyway. I don't know when he'll play again. He and Trey Turner hadn't played a second in a game before today, but the reason they played today, here's where I have a problem. I mean, I think the Phillies are a very good organization. I really think they care about the fans. John Middleton is a terrific owner. I get all that. But somebody's got to play these players when fans are paying for the tickets. And the reason they start these spring training games so early, it started close to a week ago, or it started last Saturday. Well, not a week, yeah, last Saturday. Anyway, we're doing this on Wednesday. But those people are paying to see players, not Joe Smith, Harry Smith, and Sam Smith. They're not, and yeah, well, we want to see the young players. No, they don't. How about this guy? Big Daddy L. Daryl Morey needs to be, this is good, I'm choking on it. Needs to be outside sweeping the parking lot. Total con man. You know what? He's getting paid $15 million to do that. So Philly's got to play some more starters before, when they come out, when they're playing in Clearwater, not just when it's on TV. But we got a lot to talk about when it comes to the Phillies, and we'll do that down the road. So we straightened out the Sixers. We straightened out, well, we didn't straighten it out. We talked about the worst trade in Sixers history with the player that was involved in the trade, Jeff Ruland. Nice guy, and he understands it. 5 games, can you imagine that? After they traded Moses Malone, but Harold Katz, he wanted to trade, I'm all choked up here. He wanted to trade Julius Erving. So, whatever. But that didn't happen either. All right, but I got along with Harold at the end. All right, everybody hopefully enjoyed what we did tonight. Hopefully you're here on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I'll announce who I'm going to have on when it comes, like during the week. Just check out all the social media platforms. Again, my thanks to ABC Tickets. And since ABC, tickets anywhere in the world, 800-355-5555. And since Jeff brought up my car, but Audi Devon are great people. That's where I get my car. I'm not going to be specific on the color, but Jeff thinks what I say about the Sixers, I have to worry about that. Nah, but these people they're really nice. Audi Devon, great people, great service. Service department is top notch, never issues. Well, I'd say 99.99999%. I mean, Somebody might complain, but there's no reason to complain. They're good. All right. Everybody have a great night, day, whatever it is that you're listening to this. We'll join you again. And thanks for being a part of the Howard Eskin Show podcast. And thanks to Creative Outfit for helping me out. Take care and have a good night.